Dr. Oz, so nice of you to be here today. You are an absolute sweetheart.
I would do
You're
anything.
supposed to say yes, thank you.
I said I would do anything for you. It's even better.
Oh, I'll make a list. Okay. So we're trying to clarify some of the myths, truth or fiction, on a lot of things that people are saying you shouldn't do. If anyone knows the answer, it's you. So
Well,
the
thank you
first
very
one
much.
is the virus cannot get through a face mask. I've heard this myself over and over again by my own family members. Is there truth in that? So many people are walking around with those face masks.
It depends what kind of face masks you're talking about. If you use a face mask like the kind I wear in the operating room, it's designed to protect the patient from me, not vice versa. So
Oh,
if I cough in the operating room, my saliva and bacteria will not get in the wound, but it's not going to prevent virus particles, which are much finer and smaller, from getting through the mask into me. Those are a waste of money, waste of time. The N95 masks that are fastened on your chin and up on your just below your eyes, and have a little band for your nose, if they're fitted correctly and you don't have facial hair, they will work. The actual material itself is just the right level of fineness. However, we don't have enough of them, and most people have not been fitted because it takes 15 minutes to do it. You've got to do it with an expert. So the physicians all have had it done because we needed to go to get through that process in order to have masks for the ICUs and the places, the isolation places in the hospital. But for the vast majority of the people at home, it's a worthless investment. So let the health users get those masks. It keeps us safe enough that we can take care of the really ill members of society. You're doing something altruistic. I know you could probably hoard it and use it yourself, but it's better to let the rest of the health system progress and prosper with adequate protection. The weak link in coronavirus are the hospitals. If the doctors and nurses get sick, if the hospitals become infested with coronavirus, then we're
mm.
what's going on in Italy, we believe, which is why their mortality rate is so high.
Oh, boy. Okay. So, is there any alternative to protect ourselves in some regard that makes us feel better, at least, that we're making an effort?
Well, if you really want to make a difference and drop in half the chance of developing coronavirus, wash your hands. It is a remarkably impactful, inexpensive, takes 20 seconds, and you have to wash your hands the way a surgeon does, which means your fingers are what matter. So you don't just go like this, you actually twist like this, put your hands inside of each other, then you individually clean the tips of the fingers. And when you do that, you actually end up with fingertips that don't contaminate your eyes. We also have breaking news that the virus particles we now know live 48 hours on inert
Mm.
things like tables, metals, plastics. So the person who's riding the subway today will be touching something if they're infected that tomorrow when you're riding the subway at rush hour, you might catch. So you can't
Yes.
know who could infect you. So washing hands becomes an incredibly important part of the process.
And it has to be for at least 20 seconds. That's what everybody's saying. Is there truth in that?
There is truth. It takes 20
Yep.
seconds, first of all, to wash all the fingers separately, but also for the soap roll. Lukewarm or warm water would be great. You get a moisturizer so you don't get cracks in your fingers because you'll be washing a lot. And just stop touching stuff. For example,
Mm.
hand them. As physical as we are with each other, a handshake will transmit 10 times more bacteria than a fist bump. And
What about wearing gloves? That's the next one on my list. Is it true that if you wear gloves, you protect yourself against a lot of the bacteria that's out there?
if you wear gloves and discard them right after you've been exposed, yes. So if you're in the subway,
Mm.
makes sense. But if you're wearing gloves all day long, you're just going to touch those gloves to your eyes and your nose and your lips. So what's the point? So gloves for very finite periods of time, primarily to avoid contaminating yourself when many others have touched the same surfaces, and then get them off your hands and throw them away.
Mhm. Okay, I have two friends who said they're moving to Miami because the weather is hot and the virus won't grow there. Is there any truth in that? And do you have a place in Miami if it is true that you
I
could
don't have
lend
a
me?
place in Miami. We have a place in Palm Beach. You're always welcome.
I'll take it.
Come on
No, but
down.
truthfully, is there any truth in that? Because it seemed very appealing to me.
There is truth in that. The virus particles do not like warm and especially humid weather. They plump up. They don't travel as far. So instead of traveling 6 feet between us, it only travels a foot or two, and it falls
Wow.
to the ground and doesn't survive as well as when it's cold weather. Plus, in warm weather, people aren't confined to small areas quite as much. When you're outside, the virus aren't going to be near you. So we believe the warm weather will slow down the progression of this coronavirus season as the worm hits the northern latitudes. In the meantime, if you want to go to Florida, please be welcome. But you're not completely immune. People can still get the virus there. It's very contagious. So if you're a category patient, someone who's over the age of 60 with morbid issues like cardiovascular disease or high blood pressure or diabetes, you still have to be careful.
Mm-hmm. And the last one here, a plane is the most dangerous place to be. I thought that air was filtered.
I don't think that's true. The air in the plane is brought in 50% from outside the plane. Well, that's clean. At 35,000 feet, there's no viruses. And the air from inside the plane is recirculated through HEPA filters, which clear out 99+% of all the air. So if you turn that nozzle above your head on and blow air towards your face or your chest, you'll wash away the potential germs from the people on either side of you and the rows in front and behind you. That's the germ zone. One little tip: get over by the window, stay out of the aisle. That way you have from the other side of the aisle. You have people who can infect you.
Okay, so you are not a believer that taking a plane trip is going to be hurtful?
I would, if I would, and I am young enough and healthy enough that I feel safe. I'm going to travel. I'm going to get on plane. I'm going to continue to live my life. I'm not taking these big long distance vacations, but for a trip to visit family, or an important business trip, I'll get on planes. If I 70 years diabetes, hypertension, and some past coronary vascular disease, I would not get on a plane, because that's the population where the mortality rate jumps from 200,000, 300,000, which is just a little bit more than traditional flu, to 10 times or 20 times that much. And that's too much for me.
One more. Should you have 2 weeks worth of toilet paper and groceries? Everybody is proposing that. They're proposing that.
Well, I wouldn't buy single ply toilet paper if you're running low, but if you can buy double ply comfortable toilet paper, it's not a bad idea, because if you get sick, you're going to want to quarantine. Social distancing is the most powerful tool we have against this virus until we develop better medical solutions and a vaccine. So if you were to come down with a fever, which is the most common symptom, and a dry cough, present in just over half the people, especially if you're just worn out, fatigued, you're going to want to go to home by yourself, say, honey, I'm not coming out for 2 weeks. You're going to bring me food every day, leave it outside the door. I need toilet paper, magazines, games, stuff to watch. I need to stay busy for 2 weeks so I'll get depressed, but I'm not coming out of here, ideally, until I'm completely free of the virus. And I just did some shows today around the incubation period, and there are some where the virus will keep coming out of you for much longer than 2 weeks. So you have to be for being away from people you care about in order to protect them.
Could I walk around feeling perfectly fine and still have the virus and be spreading it with my family? Or does everyone get the symptoms?
Well, there are people who are free of symptoms, who don't even realize they're ill. Certainly early in the course of the illness, you could be secreting virus particles, infecting people, not know you're ill. If of the people who have been diagnosed with coronavirus, the vast majority have had a fever. So most of the time you'll get a fever, but it might not be that obvious to you. You might be, get chills one night. In the morning, reasonable. By the next day, you're over it. You think maybe you had food poisoning, but in fact, you had coronavirus. That's why for 80% of people, the symptoms are subtle enough that you don't know if you're infectious. So prophylactically, you want to be especially careful about touching people who are older and frail.
Okay, got it. Terrific tips. Thanks so much, Dr. Oz.
God bless you. Good luck what you're doing.
God bless you back.
Okay.
Thanks.